Okay, the recording has started.
All right, great. Welcome, everybody. Today is August 5th, and this is the bi-weekly meeting of the Metal3 community. My name is Doug Hellman. I'm filling in for Mail and Stephen, who couldn't be here today. So I apologize if things are a little bumpy. We've got an agenda document, which I've shared, and I can post the link to that in the chat in case you don't have that link. So I'll do that now. If you have anything for the agenda today, it looks like it's a pretty short agenda, but if you have anything, please feel free to add that to the list. In the meantime, we normally start out these meetings with introductions for anyone on the call who is new. So if this is the first time you've joined, or maybe you have joined before, but you haven't introduced yourself, please unmute and give us a quick introduction of who you are and what your interest is in bare metal. Okay, I don't think we have anyone new on the call today, so I'm going to go ahead and move on to the first agenda item. Furqat, I think you added this to the agenda.
Sure. Hello, do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I wanted just to update the community regarding the CAPM3 V1 Alpha 4 release. On the previous meeting, we targeted the V1 Alpha 4 release, and we made it. Last week, we had a release for V1 Alpha 4. So there are lots of new features, bug fixes in V1 Alpha 3, including the templating for metadata and network data, or adding the V1 Alpha 4 API and conversion webhook chains, and so on. So please go and check. It's kind of short update regarding that.
Yeah, thanks for that. Congratulations, everyone, on getting that release out the door. I know a lot of work went into that, and there were a lot of new features this time around, so that's great.
Yes, exactly. Congratulations.
All right, does anybody have anything to add about this? Any questions? Okay. Himanshu, you have an item here on the agenda about presentation materials?
Yeah. So, hey, so let me see. So this is regarding presentation and demo materials. So the initiative that started working on some time back, and so the idea here is that we want to have some presentations and available, and some demo guides which can help anyone to prepare for any kind of meetups, conference, talks, or any other events where they want to introduce or deep dive into what Metal3 is. So this could be like they could reuse the presentation slides, and this could save a lot of time and for creating the required material. And so the demo, the purpose for that as well is basically to give some kind of guide that gives a step-by-step procedure to deploy it or present a demo. And the plan is to have some scripts included as part of this to make the process easier, although the Metal3 development environment repository takes care of most of the things, so it won't require much extra work on that front. And eventually this can mature into something like a training material as well, but that's for the future. So just wanted to bring this up on the table and get ideas from everyone. And so I have linked the Google Doc with some details regarding the proposal. So I would appreciate if you guys can take a look and provide any feedback. And other than that, I have also shared a link for the first presentation as part of this, which I had shared on the Google group mailing list last week. So if you can take a look at that as well, that would be really helpful.
All right, thanks. Yeah, this is great to pull this kind of material together. I know several people in the community have been asked to talk about the project, and having a common message around that will be really helpful. Also, it really helps to have somebody put together the slides in a way that those of us with not great slide preparation skills can take advantage of. So I appreciate that as well. Does anybody have any questions or comments about the plan? I know there was a question about where exactly to put the materials. I don't know if we really want to try and talk about that in the meeting, but if people have ideas, maybe they can get involved in that conversation in the doc that you linked there.
Exactly.
Does anybody else have any other questions or comments or anything?
So thanks everyone. Please take a look at the proposal and take your time and provide any comments there. So and we can discuss there as well regarding where to put these materials and in which repository and how to deal with that. So
yeah, that sounds great. Okay. All right, Digambar, you had an item here on the agenda that you need discussed.
Yeah, correct. Actually, actually, we came up with one of the proposal to adding a node detection failure mechanism. Currently, one of the requirement we received from Airship, and I think this is we extended that further, how we can detect the messages for finding actual failures. Currently, Metal3 is only reporting registration, inspection, provisioning, and one other failure mechanism or power state failed. These 4 errors. But actually, looking at those details, user will not get what is the cause of failure behind this. So idea is to go out of bound and get those details from Ironic, either from Ironic or we are, like you mentioned there, we are exploring node exporter and Ironic Prometheus explorer, but looks like node exporter doing a day in operations. For node exporter to run that, we'll have to run node exporter script or client on the node itself. I'm exploring Ironic explorer, but there is some of the problems we are facing. I'm talking to Yuri also, but let's see how far we can go. But looks like we need that support now. So entire framework in HCC, because we'll need to classify those errors based on the actual errors and get those errors from the actual system itself. So sometime we need to involve Ironic community here itself in this. Maybe I'll start putting some content on Google Doc and share. That will be I'll add it, that Google Doc here.
Okay.
So actually, this is one of the requirements we need to have and we need to implement at the earliest.
So these would be errors that would happen during provisioning. I think I might have misunderstood when I was directing you toward Node Explorer. Okay.
Either in provisioning or in introspection or after provisioning itself. Let's say provisioning is completed, but host is running and immediately host has failed due to some disk failures or something. So many cases are there, right? So
sure.
I'll put that content on, and we'll explore the possibility of design and everything on Google Doc. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds good.
I had a question. It's a very good proposal. I just wanted to ask, like, where do you plan to showcase these error information? Have you given any thought, or are you still thinking?
Yeah, so currently in HCC we have the classification. Currently we are coming up with that, but there is no, let's say, if someone wants to see all the failed hosts and the errors occurred on those hosts. So I think we'll have to come up with one of the CR where user can specify I need to pull only the host which is failed due to red failures, or all the host, so that user can get all the host details in the same CR and labeled on the another host with the annotation. Actually, I'm putting a thought on. I'll put everything on Google Doc so that we can. I'll thought through it, but I'll put those things on Google Doc itself.
Yeah, okay, that would be good, because I was thinking that there is already one field, if I'm not mistaken, on the host CR itself, like this error reason or something like that. So
Yeah, but it's a very minor, means user. If you want to say, let's say user wants to see that, user has to open the CR and get it. That's some of the critical things. So we should come up with the one mechanism so that we can list all the errors using the label and annotation, so user can list it in one shot using
yeah,
kubectl label command. That will be helpful. That's the
yeah,
idea
yeah,
behind it.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, good. Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, good. And it may be a good idea to share that Google Doc on the mailing list so that the folks that aren't here in the meeting are aware of that and can
Yeah, sure.
participate in that conversation. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Did anybody else have anything on this topic? Okay. Next up was the network configuration proposal. Is it Shukun?
Yes. Okay, this is our proposal for automate configured network interface for bare metal server. So what we want to do is to before provisioning a machine, we want to automatically configure the related switch, which is connected to that bare metal server. And we write the document in this Google Doc. And actually, we have discussed with community for a couple of weeks, and we have changed a lot according to the previous comments. We have added four use cases and listed the workflows for one basic, the most basic use case. And now we are waiting review from community and to get to the next step. So I want to ask community to take a look of the current document.
Okay. Shukun, what is difference between your proposal and IPAM feature, which is recently added in community?
We are planning to create multiple new controllers and CRD, and use that. Maybe some controllers will stay in their own new repository, and some will be added into CAPM3 repository. And we are planning to use all of this to configure configure switch and like I said previously.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think the main difference is the IPAM allocates IP addresses and it gets involved in the templating for the individual hosts. And this would happen before that happens to actually configure the hardware, the switch hardware, to have the right VLANs and that sort of thing.
Okay.
So it
Okay.
wouldn't be on the host itself.
Okay. Okay.
So Shukan, I think if you are ready for a broader review, that the next step is probably to open a pull request with the document on the Metal3 docs repository, where we do all of the formal design review. So having the Google Doc was a really good way to get some early, fast kind of input. But if you feel like it's stable and that this design is the one that you're ready to try and go forward with, then it's probably time to move over there and get the formal approval and all of that sort of thing.
Okay, thank you. I see. We will open a new pull request in the Metal3 docs repository as soon as we can.
Okay, that sounds good. And I encourage everyone to take a look at this Google Doc in the meantime, because this is a really interesting area for us to start getting into. I know it's really important for real data center scale deployment to have to manage the switching infrastructure. And so having that be part of what we can provide people will make Metal3 even more appealing to more users. So
Yeah, sure.
okay, Shukan, I think then the next item is also yours.
Yes, this is a very long time request. It's about support RAID configuration for bare metal operator, and currently this pull request is has passed the integration test and also get an approved label, and so to get it merged, it is waiting look good to me label, and because this is a very large request, it is related with many part of codes, so we will be very appreciate if the community can review it quickly and make it merge. So I would like to ask a review and also want to know what we should do to get it merged.
Okay, yeah, I apologize for the time that it's taken me personally to review this one. I know it's big and we've gone around a few times with the API designs and that sort of thing. So I appreciate your patience on that. Maybe we have some other members of the community who are more familiar with RAID than I am and might be interested in reviewing this and making sure that we have a good API design here, and also that the work that we're doing in Ironic to implement that is good.
Sure, I'll take a look at it.
Yeah. Cool. And then we'll keep that on the backlog or the priority list or whatever we want to call it to review to get in, because I know it's been a priority for you for a while. So.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Does anybody else have anything about the RAID feature review before we move on to the next item?
I will take a look at the RAID implementation. I'll put my comments there itself.
All right, great. Yeah. Thanks, Digambar.
Thank you. Yeah.
We are also interested, I think, currently, so we will also try to have a look into this and have some comments there.
All right, thank you. Was that Kashif? I'm trying to tell from where my client lights up.
Yes.
Who's talking? Is that?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Kashif.
Yeah, adding to that, we had a discussion today, like in journal, and we had that in the backlog, so that would be good. We'll take a look, definitely.
Okay, great. Okay, Sudeep, you're up next.
Yeah, it's a question actually. I'm just trying to understand, what is the present feature or host configuration that is supported by Metal3. Does that list like is that there somewhere in our community that I can take a look?
When you say host configurations, do you mean hardware vendors, or do you mean things like how many drives, or what kinds of things are you looking for?
Yeah, like all these kind of things like RAID or the physical node configuration. I mean, whatever is supported by the bare metal operator and Metal3 today. I'm kind of trying to find a list of that feature which is presently supported, and then also maybe like what it is supposed to enhance. Kind of a roadmap for that.
Yeah, we do have a roadmap. Let me see if I can get to that quickly.
Sudeep, you want currently supported features along with what is going to be coming, what is coming or adding in the future?
Yeah, that is
Both?
correct. Yes, yes.
Okay.
So this is our planning roadmap. I'll paste in the Google Doc here. We set this up very recently, so it's not something that we review every meeting, although we probably should get in the habit of doing that. But this shows you some of the features that we've had requested and what we planned, and if we've targeted a release version for a particular sub-project, which release version they would go into. In terms of what's supported right now, that's probably a gap in our documentation, and maybe we can find somebody who would be interested in trying to fill that gap. The best source of information is probably to look at the bare metal host API and to see the sorts of settings that you can adjust on a host. And right now that's pretty minimal. It's basically which drive and what image. And we assume that a lot of other stuff is happening inside the image or in metadata. All of that templating work can configure the image itself, and I don't know a lot about how that actually is used by the upstream community, so maybe somebody can talk a little bit about that. The metadata templating or the network data templating. All right. Well, I'll find the design doc for that and post a link here in the meeting notes so that you can take a look at that.
Okay. And you said like I can take a look at the bare metal CRD to figure out what is supported today. Like you said, just like specifying which disk and what else is supported as.
Yeah, that's right. So we do have an API doc that explains some of that in a little bit more easy to understand detail. So I'll link to that as well. But basically, since it's a declarative API, you would, oh, I've lost the page. Here we go. You set the fields to tell us, for example, what image to write to the host, and then which drive to put that image on. And it's all image-based provisioning, so we're not doing things like driving Kickstart or something like that to do package-based deployment. It's you prepare an image in advance, and we write it out to the drive, and that's the host API. There are some APIs that are outside of the host for doing things like, and this is part of what just went into the new release. Well, I guess the template stuff has been around for a while, but for doing things like allocating an IP from a range of IP addresses and assigning it to a host as part of provisioning that host to turn it into a node. So those features are probably better covered by the design documents and not as well covered by anything like a user guide or anything like that yet. So is that the kind of information that you'd be looking for?
Yeah, that's right. And if I may ask a more high-level question, like, so we have the bare metal operator as part of cluster API providers, and then we have the Metal3 operator. So what was the motivation for having these two different, operators?
Yeah, so the cluster API provider, Metal3, is the interface between the cluster API and the provisioning tool. And the bare metal operator is a Kubernetes native interface for the provisioning tool. And the bare metal operator is a low level, like sort of, I always tell people it's at the bottom of the stack. It doesn't know why it's doing what it's doing, it just knows how to do it. So it knows that you have asked to provision an image to a host, but it doesn't know what that image is, and it doesn't know why you're provisioning that host. The cluster API provider knows the why. So it knows which image to use and that it wants to turn that host into a node in a cluster.
Okay, so when we look at any other providers like Cap Z for Azure or Cap G for Google or Kappa for AWS, there we have a single provider, right? Like, which is deployed as part of the cluster API core set of providers. But when we deploy Metal3, then we have this additional Metal3 operator also, which basically, another layer which interfaces with the host via Ironic. So is it because, I'm just thinking aloud here, is it because like for bare metal, we really need to make our own operator which should talk to the hardware? That's why we needed it. Whereas in other cases, we already have those API interfaces provided by the respective public cloud provider. So they didn't need another operator.
Yeah, that's exactly right. All of those other providers have an unfair advantage. They already had that API to work with, and we had to build that API.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. That answers. Yeah, but I guess, yeah, it would be good to have those details. Yeah.
Yeah, and some of that is covered in, I linked to the design documents there. Some of that is covered in some of the older design documents where we talked about why we chose Ironic and what the different layers are for, and why we have 3 different representations of something that is basically the same host, and things like that. So I would encourage you to take a look at some of those documents. And then, yeah, the user guide on things like what features we actually have and what you can do with Metal3 is a gap, and maybe we can get some folks who are interested in helping with the website to fill in some of that gap and write about some of that a little bit.
Okay. Thank you, Doug.
Yeah, thanks for those questions. It's really good to review some of that and remember why we're doing all these things, and that not everyone is has the full history, so we got to write things down. All right, did anyone else have any other topics for the agenda portion of the meeting? Okay, so the meeting is scheduled for an hour, yes. I don't want to run too far over if we were only a half hour.
Yeah, I think it's an hour. Yeah.
Okay, so we have a little bit of time then. We could do some issue triage. I think there were a few issues that were not, had not yet been triaged, so maybe we can take a few minutes and do that. So this is, this looks like it was a request for help having to do with how to make sure that all the pieces were deployed correctly. Fareed, are you on the call? Okay, I don't know if we have a label for a help request. Does anyone know, somebody who maybe has been in one of these triage meetings before, what kind we usually use for that?
Needs some more info.
More info.
Or confirmation.
Priority waiting more evidence. That looks good. Help wanted, maybe? No, that's. Let's say documentation. That's probably where the real.
There was a support request on, which might be.
Was there?
As well. Yeah.
Ah, yes. Okay. Okay. Thanks, Steve. All right. So next on the list, this looks like a task in the infra project. Does anybody know the background on this issue? Mail opened it. Maybe somebody else on his team, or someone else that's been working on the CI.
Yeah, so I think this was related to getting the UEFI stuff for virtual media testing up and running, and there was some, I think the Pixie ROMs or something along those lines was stopping the Pixie UEFI deployments from working. I'm not sure on the latest status, but Stephen is probably a good person to advise if Mail's not around this week.
Okay. Yeah, I think they're both just out right now. I don't know Mail's availability, but what do you think for priority for this? Important soon or backlog?
Well, it was blocking testing of some of the virtual media work, so I guess important soon. Although, if I remember correctly, Stephen just switched the defaults back to BIOS to work around the issue in the short term.
Yeah, that's right. I remember that. Okay. All right. Well, we'll leave it important soon, and if Mail disagrees with that, we can change it. That's fine. Right. Is it? Does anybody know the history of this one? Is it Arvinder? Are you on the call? Okay, they.
What time है discuss करने के लिए?
Yeah, this
The title is not put on the agenda, but.
Sorry, say that again.
Wait some time. Breakout plus presentation check for
This looks like maybe a feature and an API change. And I don't know how urgent this would be in terms of priority, so maybe the backlog is the right place.
Yep.
Let's save that. We can always change that. Node failure detection mechanism. I think we just talked about this in the in the meeting. We should have prioritized it then. Digambar, what priority? Oh, he had to drop me. Well, I'm not sure that it is something that's going to happen soon. So I think I'll put this on the backlog as well, and we can raise that priority later. Maybe important long term. Yeah, we can put that on the backlog. Okay. So this looks like a request for help and possibly an issue with Metal3 dev env. Has anybody had an opportunity to look at this issue? Maybe reproduce it?
Yeah, I think it was written in the bare metal operator channel as well, and I tried to answer it, but there wasn't response there, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was actually raised by me, Sudeep here.
Oh,
so yeah. So basically, I'm trying to run the Metal3 dev setup using Ubuntu and for the V1 Alpha 4. So I mean, what is the correct process to do it? Like I do git clone and then I just run make before, or should I like export the variables and then run make?
Yeah, exactly. So
there should be a document, right, Furkat, of running this feature test. There was a reading, right?
Yeah.
Try it out, Metal3, the document. For the refer.
Just give me a moment.
No, so I mean,
Doug, on the same lines, like we are also trying the same thing. There is a recent commit that says that when the base OS is Ubuntu, the Docker will be picked up as a runtime, container runtime. And what we are observing is that with the VBMC setup, like where your target nodes are all VMs, everything runs fine because we do not change any parameters, any of the parameters rather. But when we do it on the real Dell node, where we do change the provisioning network and some other parameters, but we are observing failure on that node. I mean, we couldn't get some more time to raise that bug, but maybe somewhat similar bug we will also raise tomorrow or day after.
And is it regarding this feature test?
No, this is not regarding the feature test. It is general Metal3 setup because now I think for Ubuntu as a OS, the kind cluster is made as a default.
Yes.
What you see?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that runs very well on the VBMC setup, but not on the real node setup where we change the provisioning network part. What we observe is the ironic CI environment file. There is one file, and that file, the parameters inside that file doesn't get changed at all as per the network .sh script parameters.
It would be very nice regarding that, and also this issue that we are talking about, to have some more information so that we can start looking into that one. So,
Yes, definitely. Actually, we had a plan to raise it today itself, but yeah, we thought to like have a clean setup first and then restart the whole thing again and see if we can give more precise or concise information.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, because we have two setups, one with the VBMC which runs smoothly, no issues, and the other one which has a issue.
Yeah, that's why it is in all which way possible, because as we have also only tried it with VBMC, so there might be something that we have overlooked.
Yeah, because earlier it was with the Minikube, right? So Minikube we had no issues on the real node setup as well. It used to run very smoothly. But since this recent change, we are finding it a little difficult to set up it on the real node. So that we'll try to raise it once we have clear logs.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, that would be good. Thank you.
Yeah.
So,
sure.
yeah. So what will be the correct sequence? Like after I do git clone, I run make, And then
maybe I can add here. After cloning, you just export the variables like you did: container runtime, CapM3 version, image OS, and ephemeral cluster. So I put a link in the chat. There is a README in Metal3 devenv repository. So if you follow it, you should not normally face any problems there. So after exporting all the variables, you have to just run make. That's basically it.
so I should not follow the Metal3 IO try it, but rather I should try this one, you're saying?
Are those
I think
instructions different?
I think try it out will also have similar set of instructions. Maybe.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Yeah. I think it will not be different.
Okay.
No, I
but
think
Furkat,
there is.
sorry to interrupt. Furkat, I think what you are saying is not gonna run the feature test, right? It's just gonna run the Metal3 devenv. And he's talking about feature test.
Yes, exactly. Just running the Metal3 devenv.
Yeah, but this problem is he's facing is regarding the feature test. I'll give you some materials offline, maybe some links to how to do this properly, and I'll paste it maybe here on the doc. I think there should be a document somewhere which tells how to do the feature test, how to run those.
Okay.
I think there is recently there is one blog. I don't remember the person's name who has written it, but that would also give some insight. What was that? Himanshu itself, I guess. Himanshu, you wrote some blog, right? Sometime
Yeah,
ago.
it was regarding the cluster deployment. It's part 2 of the deep dive, and there was an earlier blog regarding this.
Okay. So those blog post link can help you actually.
Yeah, let me post those link here as well.
Okay.
And yeah, I do see that the try it has some steps which are not correct anymore when I compare with this new link that I see. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it would be good to get those synced up so that they are at least doing the same thing, if not in the same order. And that's a great opportunity for somebody who's coming to all of this fresh to help us out and contribute patches with that sort of thing. So, sometimes when you've looked at it so many times, you don't see that things are not the way they ought to be anymore. So if you run into problems running through the instructions, bugs and or pull requests are very, very welcome on that sort of thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, thank you. All right, and it sounds like we've got a couple of people lined up to help you out and sort out what's going on with the feature test script. So I think is the categorization here for this issue of I guess maybe awaiting more evidence isn't necessarily right anymore after we talked about it, but the support request should be correct. So I think we can count this as triaged.
I have just found a README for feature test. Please, I have pasted it in the chat. Try if see if it helps. Otherwise, we are always we can contact offline. Also.
All right, and I'll paste that into the ticket as well.
Sure.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah, that's also in the documentation. I put a link, so if you want to check.
Is it the deep dive or the other? There's a couple of links up here.
Thank you. I really appreciate the inputs.
Try this again. Okay. That was the end of the issue triage. Did anyone have anything else that you wanted to raise before we close out the meeting for today?
Nothing on our side, but we will have more debug and raise that bug possibly in a day or two, so that community can have a look like what is what changes or what might have broken. So
Sure.
yeah.
Okay, that sounds good. Well, then I will see you all in 2 weeks and on Slack in the meantime. Thank you very much for attending.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.